For those of you out there who wonder if I feature my colleagues in the world of content production over the years, the answer is yes. And yet this morning we have another example of that. As I've been telling you, Stories to Inspire is a really, really important content provider. And I think it is something that I would assume. We'll ask our guest in a moment. I assume that with the reaction that he's been getting, he has had to have heard from so many people around the world about just how inspiring this effort has been. Daniel Aguilar is with us live via telephone. He's actually speaking to us from L.A., where it's pretty early in the morning. And he created Stories to Inspire and stories2inspire.org and all the different platforms where it's now available. He did this back in 2017, and now there are over 3,300 stories told by over 50 speakers on the platform, with close to 3 million stories downloaded or listened to on the website and podcast. They have a hotline that gets over 1,500 calls a day. They have stories out on WhatsApp and all the podcasting platforms, Nachum Radio, our colleagues, and so many others. And he's with us live via telephone. Daniel Aguilar, pleasure to welcome you to JM in the AM.
Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate this tremendous opportunity.
Well, I consider you a really important colleague, frankly, as we always try to inspire and to get into the hearts of our listeners and viewers, and I think you have done that. Tell me about the beginning of all this. How did Stories to Inspire start?
Okay, so this all started when I was a child. I've always had a passion for stories. I think it started when my father would drive us to school in the morning. He would play Rabbi Pesach Krohn's tapes in the car on the way to school, on the way back. And I remember being so captivated by the stories. Rabbi Krohn was really my main inspiration. And as I grew older, I started to read the Maggid series books. And at some point, in the summer of 1998, I was a teenager at that point. We were in New York for the summer, and I found myself in the same show as Rabbi Krohn in Kew Gardens in Queens. And I went over to him after davening just to tell him how much I enjoyed his stories and how inspirational I found them. And he ended up inviting me to his house. And once we were there,
yeah. No, I can see this happening with him, so that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, yeah. Once we were there, he was asking me, tell me which stories did you like the most? What were your favorite stories? And believe it or not, Rabbi Krohn, at that point at least, he had a chart and he kept track of people's favorite stories. And so the years later, I got married. And just a side point, my wife is from Queens. She actually had Rabbi Krohn's wife as a teacher in high school.
That's funny.
And so after we had children, and I found myself telling my children stories at the Shabbos table, and especially every night, you tuck them to bed, tell them another story, and they were always asking me for new stories. I couldn't repeat a story, so I was always looking for new content, looking for new stories. But my issue was that I kept forgetting these stories. After a few days, after a week, I'm like, I forgot the story. I said, my children aren't forgetting, but I'm forgetting. So I told myself, you know what? There's got to be a way for me to create some sort of database for these stories, store them and share them with the world. And that's basically how Stories to Inspire was born, from a WhatsApp group. It went to a website, to a podcast, a phone line. And, ironically enough, I've planned several Stories to Inspire events with Rabbi Krohn. So it's really come full circle, Baruch Hashem.
Meaning you planned and they took place already, or you planned and these are upcoming?
Yeah. We've had a bunch of virtual events where he's recorded for us, and we've played them, with Chazak and with Torah Anytime. On their platforms. And so I've been in touch with him on several occasions. But, the beginnings were from Rabbi Krohn.
We should really point out, and I'm glad you mentioned that just now, because we should point out that not only are there a lot of amazing platforms with inspiring material out there, but a lot of them do cooperate with each other and share material, share content that's out there. I don't even know how many podcasts at this point include ours on a regular basis. So it's sort of like a mall effect. Not only are there so many great areas of or so many platforms of inspiring stories and other type of material out there, but because there's this collaborative effort between so many in our community, everything like a ripple effect. It just gets out there and goes viral in so many cases, and that's something to really be proud of, because it simply affects more and more people in a positive manner. Daniel Aguilar is with us. He's from LA. Stories to Inspire. All right, so basically, this is what people need to do in order, and we should mention. I know it's unfair to do this because you have over 50 speakers, but could you give us a couple of other examples of people who are there on a regular basis if people do, in fact, tune into what you're offering?
So you mean like feedback that I get?
No, who's there? You mentioned Mike Crone. Who else can we find there? Give me
speakers.
Give me 3-4 names that'll make an impact on the people who are listening right now.
Okay, so first thing is, I know you have Rabbi Goldwasser on your program pretty regularly.
Sure.
Rabbi Goldwasser is I consider him my personal Rav, and he's on Stories to Inspire.
Phenomenal.
Many of his stories, and also like Rabbi Ben Zion Klatzko.
Nice.
Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson.
Nice.
You have. The Ben Shushan brothers.
Nice. You have a lot of good people.
Yeah. Anybody. I mean, there's anybody who's out there in the
right.
Known
as a marginal to serious storyteller. If it's inspiring, they're going to be there.
Exactly. And I try to focus. I try to showcase all types of speakers, whether you're Hasidish, you're Sephardi, you're Ashkenaz, you're whatever. I want to show everybody. I want to show, because Klal Yisrael, we're different shvatim basically, but we're all one nation, and that's what it is. We have to spread each other's Torah.
Yeah, and by the way, and now more than ever, and this is another reason why I'm on this bandwagon, because decades ago or years ago, it was possible for somebody to be in the regular world, so to speak, and if they were or were not focused on Jewish themes or Jewish inspiration, okay, they were able to make it through life. I firmly believe, especially with the young people right now, that we need to make an effort to continue to inundate, and I use that word in a positive sense this time, to inundate them with inspiration, with short vignettes about Emunah, Bitachon, stories of great people and regular people in our community, etc. I just think it's so important these days, because we know how easy it is for young people and all people to drift into different areas of life that we'd prefer they don't drift into. So I think these platforms are more important than ever, frankly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Stories. Let me give that this information, and I'll get your comment. Stories are sent out daily via WhatsApp, broadcast, email, podcasting platforms, Naki Radio, as we mentioned, the website storiestoinspire.org, and the hotline allow listeners to listen to stories by category, by the speaker name, etc. In addition to the stories, you meaning Michael, are also creating. Daniel, rather. I don't know why I called you Michael. Daniel, you're creating and sending out inspirational quotes, creating a book called Flashes of Inspiration, which is available on Amazon. Flashesofinspiration.org is the website, flashesofinspiration.org. So all of this, folks, you can check out. And anybody who wants any of these venues, any of these avenues to receive your stories, I'm assuming all they got to do is search Stories to Inspire in Google, and they'll get all the options, right? They'll see the information about how to subscribe one way or the other, right?
Yes, it's all on the website, storiestoinspire.org. And if you want, I can give over the hotline.
Yeah, why not?
Number.
Sure.
It's 718-400-7145. That's the U.S. line. There's a U.K. and an Israel line.
Do you have the Israel? Do you have the Israel one in front of you? We have a lot of Israel listeners. Do you have the Israel one in front of you or not?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's 072-327-5206.
There you go. All right.
07. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And 072-327-5206. And if you want to subscribe via WhatsApp, it's 310-210-1205. All
right, so
and all the.
Go ahead.
If you want to subscribe to the podcast, it's you can find it on the website. all the links are there on the website.
Look, these days it's very easy to find this stuff. You just have to want to find it. And you and the colleagues out there have made a lot of this very easy for people to find. Just go and search, folks. You want to be inspired? Go to stories2inspire.org, stories2inspire.org, or check them out in a regular search engine, and you will get to where you need to get to in order to receive all of this on a regular basis. And quite an accomplishment with 3 million stories downloaded or listened to already on the website and podcast. You have a lot to be proud of. Daniel Aguilar, anything you'd like to add, sir?
Yes. So, I want to speak about just the power of stories.
Sure.
I want to talk about, first of all, Rabbi Nachman Breslov. He says, there's a quote that he says, very interesting quote. He says, others might tell stories to put you to sleep, but I tell stories to wake you up. That's the power of stories. And I get feedback from Rabbanim and teachers. They tell over the stories to their students on a daily basis. I have, Rabbanim give over stories in their drashas. I get feedback from parents telling over their stories at the Shabbos table. People say, it's transformed my Shabbos table, or it's transformed my classroom. Because stories, I think they have a power to touch a heart like anything else, because they're so relatable. Like when you tell a story, it's like you're sparking a connection. And I think this is the way that humans have communicated over from the beginning of time, by telling stories. We have in Pesach, it's all stories, right? And I think it's when you hear someone who's able to, smile at another person who hurt them, or forgive somebody who broke their heart, or they have emunah in the most impossible situations. You hear stories of people that they're just like you, and they were able to bring out the best from themselves. Then you think, why can't I do it? I can do that as well. And it creates an emotional connection that people they gain a deeper understanding of other people's experiences, and you learn more about yourself, basically. And human beings are, we're fallible, we have faults, but we can learn from each other, And these stories, they basically model ways that we can rise above difficulties and anything that we encounter in life. So, and as you said, that there's so much content and it's good, the little dose of inspiration. I feel like change doesn't happen overnight, but it's just a drop a day, a little dose a day, and things change slowly and consistently. I think that's what makes it most powerful.
Amazing
is when you're getting a little dose every day. It's like Rabbi Akiva and the drop on the rock.
Well, we said this. We said this yesterday. If someone innovates a 1 to 2 minute, whether it's a story or a halachic question or a curiosity question or anything at their Shabbos table, if they do that for a minute or two, not to belabor the point, not to create an atmosphere where people are upset that there's a speech at the table, but just a minute or two of all this at a Shabbos table. Imagine after all those weeks and all those years, the kind of effect it has, as you just described. And that's just Shabbos. Here you get to do it on a daily basis with your platform, which is amazing.
Exactly.
I thank you. Exactly. I thank you for getting up early, and I thank you for calling in from LA. And we thank you for Stories to Inspire. Daniel Aguilar here at JM in the AM. Be in touch. You're doing some amazing things, and we're really proud to feature you this morning and continue to inspire people with Stories to Inspire.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure and honor to speak with you.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
Have a great day and a wonderful Rosh Chodesh. More coming up. You're listening to JM in the AM.